Snap, crackle, pop, boom. Snap, crackle, pop, boom. Old Sunspot 13664 is at it again. It was the prolific X-Class producer that has spun all the way around the sun and is back and is still prolific, as we have had an X-Class 2.8 solar flare overnight. That means all the atmospheric particles are going to continue to be charged. And the weather over the last week or two or through May has definitely been supercharged, in my opinion. That's quite a coronal mass ejection with it, it looks like. Wow. And it produced a radio blackout. And how were your dreams last night? We had more nasty tornadoes rip through Kentucky, Illinois, and maybe one or two states. Did you see that last frame? That was the shot we just had. They don't have good images of it, though. Bam, right there. Did you see it? All right, so the parade of wild weather continues today all up and down the coast. From Georgia all the way up to whatever state this is, New York, for today. And then tomorrow, they've just added a big bullseye for like 69% of Texas and maybe 12% of New Mexico. So stay tuned and definitely stay weather woke, because it's been wild. And I know that a lot of people have been kind of negative on the future prospects of the United States of America. But remember, on this Memorial Day, all those soldiers who gave their lives so we could make it this far in our pursuit of life, justice, freedom, and the pursuit of happiness, we're going to do what we can to turn this ship around. Because, yeah, it's been a rough decade or so, I would say. And there has been a debate on the internets over when was peak America, and I would guess it was about 1988 to right when Kurt Cobain died, although it still took a little while for it to get crappy, but that would be my guess. And it's still my dream to see peak rock and roll, peak sitcom, and peak world peace in my lifetime. Which I think is still possible, by the way. And I think we've seen some positive omens this year. Well, for me personally, I saw Olivia Rodrigo live in February, and that 21-year-old young lady, A, was one of the most beautiful women I'd ever seen in my life, and B, was an incredible performer. You may not count that, but I will. Then I saw the total solar eclipse in Texas. It was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. Then we had the super amazing solar storm in May, and then we had the meteor ducks, which were super cool. Remember the meteor ducks? Or I guess I should call them fireball ducks, or you might think I'm referring to pate if I'm talking about meteor ducks. You know what I'm talking about? And this event was one of the biggest I've seen for inspirational to artists who made versions in their own ways of the event, because it's pretty cool, man. When, there's something about it. Ducks looking up at meteors, really impressive, my opinion. All right, buckle up. Well, here I'm showing you Jupiter's moon Io, and a really impressive, but maybe Tourette's-inducing. I guess, what is that? What do they call it when you get flashing lights and it gives you seizures? I guess that's not Tourette's. Because Tourette's is when you just start blurting out cuss words. All right. But right now, I'm going to start talking about politics and specifically the Trump trial, because the verdict is expected this week. So buckle up. I mean, it could be a super duper, absolutely crazy wild week, depending on how things go down. Sidebar, some people were giving Trump shit yesterday because he was saluting during Amazing Grace. It says, who salutes during Amazing Grace? Well, I give like the peace sign, the thumbs up, the salute, and then the the heart to a lot of the flying planes I see. So I'm big on pro saluting. Technically, I think you can salute whenever you want to. Anywho, that's not a big deal at all. But sidebar, I just want to say, like I always say, no matter what, I think AOC's hot. Okay, I'm trying to do y'all a favor because, like, I was listening to right wing radio a lot over the last 2 weeks, and literally none of them talked about the trial at all. I talked about everything else, and they always seem to spend like 2 to 3 hours in dumb culture war stuff, in my opinion. Anyway, so none of them really talk about the trial. Well, they'll talk about everything else, but so the MAGA people seem to be in some weird quantum state where Trump is both like the greatest man who ever lived, who always does the best job, and no one can touch Teflon Don, but he's also super persecuted, and all the deep state is totally against him and corrupt and keeping him down at all times. I'm not sure how that works. And what I'm trying to say is Trump faces like 34 counts of fraud and supposedly deceptive business election practices due to the Stormy Daniels stuff. And so they have finished, the prosecution and the defense has rested. What they have left now is closing arguments, and then they have the judge and the lawyers have to do the jury charge, which can take some time. And then they got to give it to the jury, and then the jury has to decide. So I've been trying to figure out when I think the verdict is going to come in. And I've said probably the 29th. Though, I mean, it could come in as early as Tuesday. But yeah, usually I think in fraud cases, if the person has a super clean record, then sometimes they get just probation. First-time offenders in nonviolent cases are sentenced to probation and fines instead. So I would guess that Trump would get probation because a lot of the lawyers and scholars I've listened to said they think he's got 34 counts. They said they think he'll get him on one, although I would say mathematically he's got a great chance at getting a hung jury. And it would seem out of pocket if Trump got jail time. But so I think, if you're just no curveballs, it would seem like he would get probably found guilty and then given probation for the Stormy Daniels trial. And then he's got 2 more criminal trials in the future. And so that by him having a criminal record, it would kind of clear the way and open the gate for, if he was found guilty in the other trials, then he could possibly get jail time. But he could be given jail time on Wednesday or Thursday or Tuesday, whenever the verdict comes in. I think it's going to be Wednesday because the astrological deck is stacked. And the biggest one is Mars can join Chiron. Mars is like war, and the warrior. And then Chiron is like the wounded healer. And Chiron's always a really rough energy, and Mars can be a rough energy. Anyway, I've heard other people say Mars can join Chiron could have a violent result. So I wouldn't rule out the possibility that they could try to throw him in jail, which opens up a whole other can of worms, because I've heard people say that the Supreme Court would overrule that as election interference, but it still wouldn't be instant. So would they then put him in like general, or would they then put him in prison? Would they give him, home confinement? I don't know, dude. It's like I said, it's just going to be a wild week. And I do think if they said they're going to put him in prison, people will freak out. So I don't know if that happens. Just be prepared for it to be a possible volatile day wherever you go, in traffic or just out and about. I would probably stay home for a day or two if you can. Like I said, we'll see what happens. I'm just trying to fill you in as best I can. I pray for peace and that we work through it no matter what. It would be great if Trump and Biden could figure out some type of truce to get us through the rest of the year. and they have a fair election. Without a doubt, Trump's got quite a bit of momentum now, but we haven't had a presidential election since they overturned Roe v. Wade. So I keep saying in theory, it's pretty much almost Trump versus Taylor Swift, symbolically. And that women will probably have a pretty big say in this election. So I think no matter what, I would assume that it could be close. All right. So let's try and honor those who gave their all for us by being cool, staying cool, avoiding World War III, preventing Civil War II, and just by being general awesome all around. All right. Have a great day. Stay cool. God bless everyone. And thank you to all the soldiers serving now, men and women. I think we have the best military in the world, absolutely, hands down. And I know that their day is Veterans Day, but I still want to say thank y'all. As Planetary Defense Commander, I would definitely not be doing this without y'all. God bless everyone. Stay cool. Have a great Memorial Day. Bye, y'all. Hit the button, baby.